What's up, guys? So today's video, I want to talk to you about a couple different principles that I've been going over with a lot of my clients for the past couple years. Principle number one, riding the rails. Number two, heels away all day. And number three, keeping your shoulders back behind the ribs, all right? Now, over the past 20 years, I've developed a reputation for a couple things. One of them is for having this darkly sarcastic sense of humor that I try to put into all my training. I'm the most serious, not serious person you're ever gonna meet. And the other thing I've really developed a knack for over the years is I'm very known for how well I'm able to train legs for people. Like, that's my body part. I love lower body exercises. I will smoke you till you can't walk the next day. But I'm gonna do it in a way that's gonna get you better and keep you injury free, all right? And today I wanna give you 3 of my best tips that are great for not only for eliminating up to 80% of the back pain, not only for eliminating up to 80% of the pain you feel in your back, knees, and hips. Try saying that 5 times fast. But also for just getting you more out of the leg exercises you're doing already, because a lot of people come into these videos on my website, my Facebook page, looking for some kind of super sexy secret exercise that they've never seen before. Guys, everything that you've seen already is the same stuff that you're going to see going forward. There's no magic sauce. There's no magic secret formula. All the exercises that you've seen up until this point is pretty much all you need to transform your body and get great results. However, there are a few little tweaks as far as your stance, your body positioning goes that can get you a ton more out of those exercises and keep you injury free. So today we're going to go over 3 of my top 10 lists. And if you ever want to know what the last 7 are, do me a favor, shoot me a message, and we can go over more from there. So technique number 1 is going to be riding the rails, and then also inside ankle bone high, because they both go hand in hand. Now, the way your foot's designed, you say I got my shoe right here, so I'm not going to hold up my foot. I ain't got that kind of balance. So your foot's got 3 different main parts to it, and each part of your foot has a different purpose, all right? This is my right shoe. So the big toe right here is for balancing and gripping, all right? The outside rail of the foot right here, this is for force generation, absorption, and redirection, all right? So if you're gonna land from a squat and then jump back out of it, this is where you generate force, and this is where you rest. Like, it's like the kickstand for your motorcycle, right? You're gonna sit down on it and you're gonna rest there. So this is for resting, this is for balancing, this is for force generation and force absorption, all right? Now, for most people, knowing what we just went over, if you look at any of their exercises, their squats, deadlifts, lunges, running, walking, anything like that, even some bent over row exercises, the way most people stand, right? They stand with their knee collapsed in. The inside ankle bone is this tip that sticks out right here. That inside ankle bone's collapsed down, their toes are turned out, their knees caved in, and they kind of have like this knocked knee stance. Now, I'm exaggerating it, but if you look at most people walking around, this is how they stand, this is how they work out, this is how they perform, all right? And what happens is, when you're in a stance like this, rather than sitting back into your glutes and hamstrings, which is the power source for your body, now you start being very front chain dominant, meaning you're living in your quads, you're living in your hip flexor, you're putting a ton of pressure on this inner knee right here, and the arch of the foot starts collapsing down, and now you get to the point where, you go to look at most people when they do their walking lunges, right? Now, I'm not saying this is wrong, but it's not the way I teach it, right? A lot of people, when you do a walking lunge, they teach you to go straight ahead, and you see the knee collapse in because there's no glute activation, where the way I teach it with my clients, we teach more of a rotational spiral-based method. So when you take that step, I'm stepping on the outside rail of the foot, right? My knee shifts out, and now I'm living in the glute versus slipping in and on the big toe. This is what most people do. This is what I have my clients do. This is you balancing on the big toe, right, with the knee caved in, quads, hip flexor, lots of potential for injury. This is gold dot, green dot alignment, right? Riding the rails. I'm on the outside blade of the foot, not the inside blade, right? And I got that inside ankle bone. If you look right here, it's not collapsed out, it's elevated, which by elevating that ankle bone helps keep me on the outside blade of the foot. So principle number 1, riding the rails, which is the outside blade of the foot, the outside 2 bones, right? And then also keeping that inside ankle bone high, so this way you're able to shift the weight to where it wants to go with the muscles. Principle number 2, heels away all day, all right? So this one goes synergistically hand in hand with the first principle we went over, right? So if I have my toes turned in, right? I'm gonna push my heels out, I'm gonna push my knees out. Knees out, heels out, go hand in hand with this one. And What happens is, by me pushing my heels outwards, right, and flaring my heels out, when I'm in a stance right here, it creates this little 22.5 degree triangular angle where I'm able to stay on the outside blades of my foot. But more importantly, when I'm doing any kind of locomotion-based movement, like running or walking or whatever, and I go to walk, I always flare my heel out and away, heels away, all day, like when I do my walking lunges, right? My heels away, so I'm able to load the glute and spiral through the hip, where if you look at the way most people walk, walking down the street, walking down the road, walking on the treadmill, even when they run, most people when they walk, I gotta concentrate because I can't even do this anymore, because their knees collapse in and their foot collapses in, they got this heels in motion that they do, like when they do their walking lunges, right? Or, better example, you see people go to the cable crossover machine. They'll do this, right? They're standing there, and how do they stand? They brace with that back foot with the heel in, and they're bracing through their hip flexor, where if you turn that heel out and you go heels away all day, now I'm bracing in with that glute, I'm locking in with my back leg, and now all that tension's in the muscle that's designed to support force, absorb force, and redirect force versus my hip flexor, my quad, and the interconnective tissue of the knee, all right? So principle number 2 is heels away all day. The best example I can give for you of this is 2 things. One, watch the way like a little 2-year-old, 3-year-old kid walks, right? Little kids, when they walk and they run, you'll see their heels flare out as they go. Or you can look at some of the top athletes of the world, like Michael Jordan, look at Tom Brady, look at the runner Usain Bolt. When these athletes go, they're always operating in this heels away all day motion. And if you notice, those are 3 athletes who are the best of their game, and if you notice, those are also 3 athletes who tend to stay the most injury free and have the longest careers. There's something behind that, where a lot of the guys, especially in the NFL, you see them, they're out with ACL tears and knee tears and, broken bones and everything else. Don't get me wrong, Tom Brady, Jordan, and Usain Bolt have all had their share of injuries, but if you look at the span of their careers and how much time they have in the game versus how many injuries they had, and when they did have them, the severity or the lack of severity that happened with them, nothing that really ever ended their career. So there's something to be said about that. Principle number 2, heels away all day. And then tip number 3 I have for you, shoulders back behind the rib cage. And this one has to deal with a lot of people just flat out rounding their shoulders, all right? Now, you can look at a couple different examples where that happens. When you're sitting down in a chair, and we're like this. This has been pretty much all of us over the past year since the lockdown started, right? You're rounding the shoulders forward. It's causing the shoulder blades to elevate and separate, and you start getting all this impingement and tightness in the shoulder and the neck. You look at people doing their exercises. A lot of people, when they do the lat pull downs, they crunch forward. They let the shoulder blades collapse. They hunch. When they go to do their squats, what do? They squat and let the weight push them forward. When they deadlift, what do? They start with their back rounded out like this. This is probably one of the biggest examples that breaks my heart. You look at some of our senior citizens that are like in their 70s and 80s, and they're walking around with like these hunchbacks and walkers because their shoulders have collapsed so much over the years because they never just concentrated on, there's probably other issues too, but a big part of it is just keeping your shoulder blades together and back, all right? So I had one of my clients, she was, how can I say this the right way without getting in trouble? She was very top heavy, all right? And one of the problems we had to deal with for years was that she thought it was the exercises she was doing at the gym that was giving her all her back pain, her squats, her deadlifts, and everything else. And we sat down and looked at the way she was moving, and it was a matter of just that her shoulder blades were too weak to support the weight of her upper body in the front. So just by putting her on a simple routine of doing some simple shoulder blade work and stretches for the front of her shoulder, we were able to get those shoulder blades back together, and like 90% of her pain went away in like a matter of a couple weeks. They wanted to send her for surgery and all kinds of stuff, and really it was just a matter of her body was out of alignment, right? Now, for the shoulder blade one, that's really the main one I see for a lot of people with their upper body, and I've got a million different ways to cue it, right? Shoulders pulled back behind the ribs. Okay. Separate the shoulder from the ear. Okay, that's another one. Shoulder blades together and down. Okay. Try to push your lats down into your back pocket. Okay, at the end of the day, the principle is the same. Whatever way is going to make it mentally connect for you, you want to get your shoulder blades, right? See those things moving around in there? To go together and down. So this way you're keeping the spine nice and straight. So if I go to do a deadlift, squat, lunge, whatever else, I'm not moving from the spine, right? And not because I'm not bending from the spine, my lats can engage, which helps my glutes engage, and it puts me in a position where I'm working from the legs and the hamstrings versus the lower back, all right? And I'm not gonna get too much more into the why for these exercises, because at the end of the day, a lot of people don't really care about why they work, but if you do, reach out to me, we'll have a conversation more about them. The 3 takeaways I want you to go with today: principle number 1, riding the rails / inside ankle bone number high, all right? Inside ankle bone high. Those two kind of go hand in hand. Principles number 2, heels away all day. Whenever you're moving, you want to move in a way where you're activating the glutes, rotating through the hips, and by doing so, you're flaring the heels outward away from your body versus turning in. I don't care what the exercise is, you never want to turn your heels in. You want to have them flaring out. That's the way your hips designed to move, and that's going to help you out. Principles number 3, we're going to go with shoulders back behind the ribs, or you can think about it as shoulder away from the ear. All right, this is kind of fast and jumbled up. I wanted to give you the 5-minute version of what it took me 20 years of blood, sweat, and tears to figure out and learn on my own the hard way. I've had every single injury you could think of, and all those injuries pretty much came from not following these principles. And I can tell you, by taking these 3 little principles and integrating them to the same exercise and workout you're doing right now, you're gonna get a lot more performance out of yourself. You're gonna run faster, you're gonna lift more, you're gonna recover quicker. You're gonna see a lot of your pain go away. It's not gonna be the magic end all and be all, but you'll get a lot of relief. And because you're getting more relief and you can push yourself harder, you're gonna notice your results multiply out, because now you can put your body through more strenuous workouts because they're not as taxing on you, and you don't have to worry about the downtime from injury. So I want you to take those 3 principles, try adding them into your routines, and don't feel like you have to do all 3 at one time. Just focus on one this week. Let's start with the shoulder blades first, all right? Shoulders back behind the rib cage. After we get done with that one, all right, let's focus on riding the rails of the foot. We're not on the blade of the foot, right? We're on the outside rail of the foot. We're not on the inside, we're on the outside. This way it helps keeps our knees bowed out. And then once we're done with that one, we'll worry about flaring the heels out as we're going through any of our motions. And then when we do our leg-based exercises with a slightly more narrow stance, pushing the heels away. So that's all I got for you in this video. Hopefully that helped you guys out. Like always, if you have more questions, drop me a DM, shoot me a text message if you have my cell phone number. Reach out to me in the DMs. Let me know how these worked out for you, and if you have more questions about this, shoot me a message, and either myself or somebody from my team will get back to you and give you the answers you're looking for, all right? Thanks for stopping by today. See you in the next one.